it's more or less all been said. It's all been covered beautifully by the grandchildren, by the Rabbonim who spoke. She was some lady. And Ephraim said it very well. I point out from time to time, especially on occasions like this, when we focus on individuals like Pep Fink, we're never to take for granted some of the remarkable families that existed, that survived and thrived in the American wilderness of pre-World War II. Absolutely astounding. Coming from Deutsches and Königsbergs, famous names, special names that built Torah and upheld Torah in America. It's been pointed out to me from time to time, something that I don't know if I've ever fully appreciated. You know, when she would talk about things, Torah, the day school, she was looking at a very, very big picture always. And that knocking on doors, and incidentally going around with pushkas, and her hobnobbing with people like Minnie Mushkin, talking about all the big stuff here in Scranton and elsewhere. It was a big picture. What's doing with the day school? What's doing with the children? Not just her own. And it was said before, but I want to say it very, very explicitly, openly, that's very much to her credit. She thought big, with an iron will, but she thought big, with such a heart, such a capacity. And that learning, that love of learning and respect for it, I don't know how many remember, but for many years the Monday night cheer for the women was in their living room next door. It was very, very special to her that it take place in her living room, and that people come into her home and that the shiur would be said, and that went on for many years. I want to say it explicitly. It's not a simple matter to send away a 5-year-old girl from home. Well, that's what they did. They were in Taylor, Pennsylvania, this newlywed couple, and they're raising a family, and it's time for Effie to get education, so she was sent to New York to Mishpacha. That's not a simple matter to send away a child. But those families that did it, here in Scranton and elsewhere, those are families that, Baruch Hashem, have had tremendous continuing, unceasing nachas. Because it's not simply that a statement was made, it's a world was built by sending away a child. One would think it's totally contradictory to what parenting is all about. A child needs to be home. True, but a child needs Torah also. A child needs the well springs of Torah. They knew that, and that wouldn't happen in Taylor, Pennsylvania. And so she was sent away from home. And Jesse is a real Ben Torah coming out of the community. There weren't many that came out of the community that way. It's a small community that's produced beautiful, beautiful peros. But Jesse is part of that picture as well. Starke Ben Torah, Starke Ben Yeshiva. And that's because of the thinking of Pep and of Meyer. And the love between them. I could still hear the words, Pep dear. He loved her so. He adored her. You could see that in his eyes, in his face. He just loved her so. And she was very, very much the queen. Very, very much so. And he respected that and loved it, and the children always understood it and appreciated it. The day school, the PTA, the sisterhood in the shul. One word that I want to share with you. Kadoshim to you in this week's Parsha. Be kadosh. Be holy. Holiness is defined in many ways. Be kadosh. Sanctity, holiness, separateness. And it includes, this picture of Kedusha includes many things. And there's great discussion and even disagreement as to what it primarily includes. We're not sure what's being emphasized here. Tremendous machlokas between Rashi, Ramban, what exactly is being referred to by Kedoshim to you. But one thing's for sure, the idea is to be a certain way, to see yourself in a certain way, to be a certain way that somehow is described as Kadosh. She and Meyer were part of that legacy. They were raised that way, and they continued their legacy in building their Bayis Ne'eman B'Yisrael in that regard, at a time when it was not common for that to be the case. Now we take for granted so much the ease of Shmira Shabbos, and Baruch Hashem, the yeshivas, and the chinuch our boys are getting and our girls are getting, the communities. Baruch Hashem, within our world, what is happening is unbelievable, and we should never take for granted what's happening. But to see oneself in those years, pre-World War II, American children building a Bayis Ne'eman, where there was a sense of Kedoshim to you, of having that Kedusha, and it was almost as if it was the air they breathed, and the food they ate and the water they drank. Kedusha, sanctity. It was like obvious. There's no other way. It was so much part of them. They were comfortable with it, and they propagated it. They certainly instilled it in others. No question that Bert and Minnie and their relationship with Meyer and Pep, that relationship was incredible. That each couple was enriched by the other tremendously, but it wasn't only Meyer, Bert and Minnie, but so many others. They were part of that picture of what many describe as what the old Scranton was like. Something which is really almost indescribable, that I walked in on sort of at the end. It was really not quite perhaps the way it was in the 60s, but certainly a great deal of it still persisted, and it was something indescribable. She was very, very much part of the heart, the core of what I'm describing. Kedoshim to you, a sense of Kedusha. What am I? Where do I belong? Not just this mitzvah and that mitzvah. What am I? I'm part of Klal Yisrael. Part of Klal Yisrael that loves Torah and lives by Torah and builds Torah and is involved in Chesed. That's what she was. All right, I'll finally, for the final speaking, I ask Jesse to come forward.